too much ownership for Nicolai Højgaard, would you say? Do you think he'll crack 20%? Is he going to crack 10%? Because sometimes I do feel like we overestimate and give too much credit to what the field is going to do with some of these lower end names.
This is, I think, maybe a more complicated answer than you're looking for, but it's not so much whether or not I'm going to play Nicolai. I think I'm probably playing him regardless of his ownership, but it's what role is Nicolai playing in my lineup? Is he just a high probability play that's there because I really like the rest of my lineup and I think the rest of my lineup can give me the separation that I need, and now Nicolai is just trying to preserve that advantage that I have? Or is Nicolai one of those reasons why my lineup can very quickly get to the top of the leaderboard, and now I can just surround him with high probability plays that are just designed to, preserve the advantage that I've already created for myself? And so if Nicolai is one of those separators, low owned, I don't, it's a little bit hard to just give a specific number, but I certainly under 10%, he's a separator. Under 15%, he might still be a separator. Under if he's 15 to 20, now he probably can't be a true separator for you anymore. So now he converts to a high probability play. And basically, if you just assign separator or high probability play to everyone in your lineup, and you have, let's say, 3 of each or 2 of one and 4 of the other, you're going to build a pretty good lineup. If you have too many separators and not enough high probability plays, it's probably too contrarian. If you have too many high probability guys and not enough guys who can actually help you separate, now you're too chalky and you're going to cash a lot at a good rate, but you're not going to get those actual takedowns that really create the year for you.
At Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings picks, Arnold Palmer Invitational, plus some deep dive, talk about the players. Thank you all for joining us. If you joined us last week with myself and the newly minted Fantasy Golf Writers Association Golf Writer of the Year, Alex Blickle, you probably won some money, didn't you?
That was a good week. It was a fun week all around, and I was very happy to see you have such a spectacular week because a lot of that came from the discussion we had on the show, and I feel like you earned it as well. Just the entire body of work. Maybe you didn't get the Golf Writer of the Year award, but you're every bit as deserving as I was, and we're working as a team here and making a lot of really good stuff happen.
Listen, we can work as a team. If I was deserving, Alex, I would have won the award. I would not be a 13-time loser of that award.
I feel like you can't be a 13-time loser without doing something well, right? It's the same argument of people wanting to diminish LeBron James' career because he lost in some finals, as if it would have been better for his career and his legacy to have lost in the first round or something instead of the actual final. So I think you're doing something pretty good.
I appreciate the recognition. I do have one of those awards, so that's always nice. That's all I need. And maybe I'll stop submitting myself. I'll be like, I'm over this now. I'm sick of losing. I don't want to go anymore. Sealy's got it way worse than me. I think he's lost 25 times with 0 wins. At least I have the 8 wins. That does help across. Having the podcast does help. And what does help this show? Smashing the like, subbing to the channel, and subscribing to the Pat Mayo Experience on Spotify and Apple, and leaving a 5-star review. If Alex and I helped you win money last week, then please, for free, you can go do that for me. You can sign up for Blickle's Discord as well. That's down in the chat. There's a bunch of places we can start. I do want to give another special shout out to Joe Berman. Played a single bullet in the $25, Alex, and came second.
That's
100K.
Insane ROI. Just unbelievable. That's part of why we all love DFS so much, right? It's you can't get that anywhere else, pretty much. And yet you don't need to just shoot for the stars and the miracle like a lottery ticket. You can also build your bankroll in a smaller way and more consistent way. But DFS kind of offers all that, and I think that's part of why we love it so much.
I came third in the 6th, third and 7th in the 6th. I saw Kyle Robert came 1st and 2nd across contest. The viewer who came in 3rd behind Joe ended up winning $50K in the $25. It was a great week all around. Can you guess Joe's lineup that came in 2nd for $100,000? Because it's very this show coded from last week.
Well, I know it's going to have Smotherman in it.
Smotherman is in it, correct.
I think it's going to have probably 3 stars up top then. So let's say Lowry, Nicolai, and oh man, I'm not sure.
You have a pick between 3 guys. You're 3 for 3 so far. And
I know it's not. I know who it's not. It's not Thorbjornsen.
No, it's not Thorbjornsen. And there's one you're obviously missing here because you would have needed it to get to the top.
Oh, of course. Yeah, Nico.
Nico's in it. So you're 4 of 4 so far. Can you get the last two?
Probably not. I'm gonna say Mitchell.
It was Gerard.
Okay. Yeah. I obviously Mitchell ended up higher, but it was harder to land on that combination.
I
So
think
the last guy must have been.
I think if
a
he had
decent play as well.
if he had actually played Mitchell, I think he would have won instead of Gerard.
I would assume so.
So who is the elusive sixth man at 4.6% ownership who wildly outscored his finishing position, I think?
Oh, that's a good hint. Man, there were a lot of guys who did that this past week.
Who did I love last week?
Oh, Ford.
That's
awesome. That's awesome.
3 chip-ins in a row.
That was the craziest round of golf I have ever witnessed from anybody. And you know the Monday qualifier account, Monday Q Info. He loves posting just scorecards that look crazy and saying like, I shot even today. Must have been a boring round, right? And you see like 11 birdies, 6 bogeys and a triple or something like that, whatever it is. I think he did talk about this one, but there's no way that you could even do the round justice just from the scorecard because of all the hole outs and similar to Lowry, like some of those water balls were insane. The hole that I think he ended up making either a triple or a quad on, but he was in the water where he would have been better off if he had hit the Lowry type shot and it was 80 yards into the water than where he was because he tried to play it out of there and it just kept rolling back to his feet like 3 times. Then he went and took the drop. It was so wild and such a cool thing to watch because we knew that like so many people, yourself included, were really counting on him. And so not only was it a really entertaining round, but it was an entertaining round in the coolest way that they really, really needed for him to come through. So that was a really fun watch.
Have you ever missed a shot as bad as Jimmy Stanger did on 17?
I'm sure I have, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. That was, I didn't know it was possible.
Just to be on the other side of the water. And the commentator's like, I'm pretty sure that's out of bounds because you can't get over there.
And actually, we know that it's not like the worst shot ever hit because I think Kisner made the point of like, I remember that being out of bounds, which means he at least witnessed someone do it before. So it wasn't a first time, but it was really, really impressively bad.
Well, you can't physically get over there from the tee box, but I guess that determines that it's out of bounds because I don't think it was staked. Like, could he have jumped in the water with a club and swam over and hit it?
Well, that was the question I was about to ask you. It's like, what would you have needed to jump in? Would you jump in with your club, or would you swim over there first, then have your caddy chuck the club to you?
I think it was too far. I think he would have had to bring the club with him.
I think so too. And yeah, then the grip is ruined forever. You got to go re-grip that thing, and the good chance there's going to be water in the shaft or something like that. Yeah. Given where he was in the leaderboard, I think he probably would have done it if he had the opportunity.
For sure, it was probably like a $200,000 swing, and he's playing on medical exemption, so he needed those points.
Yeah, and not only that, but he only had 1 hole remaining, so it doesn't matter how wet and gross you feel. You only have to play 1 more hole, so go for it.
Yeah, go and figure that out. You actually gave me a great tip, which I gave out to the people over the weekend. Catch an underdog with their pants down. It was great.
Yeah, that was a good one on 16 through 18. Reading that, I think that was on Saturday. I was actually looking forward to potentially going in the opposite direction yesterday, but they were a little bit more ahead of the curve and prepared on Sunday as opposed to Saturday. But yeah, that was a really good one. We kind of noticed early on. But the biggest thing that I noticed early on was, after playing like the absolute monster that 17 can play the day prior, 17, the tee box was up, the pin was all the way up, and there wasn't much wind. And so all of a sudden 17 became a real birdie hole, and 18 was playing really easy again. So we really kind of hit across the board. I think the stat that you pulled from it was they offered
11 they offered 11 players in that market. 9 of them went under on the 11. They were all, and I think that like 7 of the 11 were at like plus money to do it. Unfortunately, I put Wrighton in a whole bunch of them. I played enough combos that it made it worth my while. But Wrighton was the only guy because he drove it into the water on 18 somehow.
I mean, Like
and made
guys were making easy birdies from the left rough and from the bunker because it was like a 220-yard shot based on the setup that day, and he hit it 330 down the right side of the fairway through into the water. It was, oh man, that was so annoying. But I was with you. My only regret was not playing more combinations because the read was perfect. We really had that opportunity, and it's one of those things like we talked about in the past where props is really a game, and pick 'em as well, of course. It's really a game where you are rewarded for being patient. You're rewarded for being picky and really finding your spots to really, really attack. And that was very much one of them.
And that's usually how I play Underdog Pick'em. I like to throw out entries because there's a boost. You can play a $50 max on it, and you get just load up with 4 or 5 whatever guys, try to make some anti-correlation to try to get the big lotto payout. But when I see an opportunity like that, and it usually does materialize in those types of markets, so you need to be diligent in looking on the app, looking on the site to see if they offer these markets, because it's not consistent round to round, week to week, whatever it might be. But we actually had real intel on how the course was playing, and then no one was touching these markets. Like, oh, they're offering these markets? Let's go heavy on this and go win some money.
Yeah, and it was kind of hard to tell if it was because we were hammering it and I gave it out in my Discord, or if it was because like the whole industry was starting to catch up at the same time and Underdog was starting to realize it at the same time. But as soon as we put some plays in, it's like Lowry went from 1.05x to 0.88x. Everyone else was just nerfed just as much. And all of a sudden it wasn't beatable anymore. It wasn't playable anymore. And so we were very happy to get in on that as much as we did. Again, wish I'd gotten in on it more with more combinations, but it's always still fun to have that read and know that a lot of people were able to hit some winners because of it.
Yeah, I put in $600 towards it, and I walked away with $1,600. If I did that every day of my life, I wouldn't need to do this show.
Very true, very true. And yeah, we've been doing the same thing in NBA with free throw alts. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, definitely check out the Discord, because we've been having a lot of fun on the free throw alts, and it's basically like we get the 16 through 18 edge almost every single night in NBA.
Okay, well, I need to get it on that. That sounds great.
You're already in the Discord. So
that's right. I'm in it. I can go get these plays. You can join it too. You hit the description, get the Discord. I will give a big shout out to the BetSports Golf, the Rabbit Hole Simulator last week. It had Nico second in odds to win, and it had Smotherman 11th, I believe, in terms of overall win. It had Lowry at number 1. What do they know? Wasn't even close. Wasn't even close to winning. But the tournament simulation, that's just one of the tools on the rabbit hole. I would get in right now, betsportsgolf.com/Mayo. And it's an easy way to construct your lineups and use the optimizer to build as well if you want to get in on that. We got $1 million contest coming up on DK pretty soon. I do just want to quickly circle back with you. We talked a little bit about what we needed on Underdog last week, and I got screwed by those WDs. Like, it absolutely tanked me. I advanced 35 teams in the scramble. And if those guys if Griffin, Cootie, Knapp, or who was the other one? Bridgman. If 2 of those 4 played, I probably get like 55 through.
That was strong. Yeah. I mean, even as is, it was a really strong performance. I got 5 of 20 through in the big scramble, and I was really happy with that. I kind of felt like I wasn't building optimally to advance through round 1. Like, I was building more for if I happen to get through round 1, then I'll be in good shape. So hopefully that comes to fruition, and those 5 have some real legs to them. But I think just overall, like, very pleased overall with the process. I think our read on the just the right strategy, how to attack this contest was really good across the board. You and I did a show together, at least one. We might have even done 2 together where we really talked through some strategy and did some drafts. So another area where hopefully we helped some people, really get in position to win some money watching golf, which is a great thing to do.
And we're going to have more opportunities because the major season drafts on Underdog are coming up. If you're not on Underdog yet, it'd be crazy if you're not. Show is sponsored by Underdog. Help us out here, especially if you won money last week. Code Mayo at Underdog gets you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Additionally, on your first $5 pick'em entry, they'll just give you $75 more to play with. So the deposit bonus plus that, and you'll probably get a free pick along the way. And there's huge boosts on PGA because they want to get people playing PGA. Highly recommend it. Code Mayo at Underdog. Yeah, I played in 4 contests. So in the big scramble, I had 2 teams advance out of the 20 that I played. I had a bunch in last place and 5th place. Like, what the hell happened here? I did well in every other contest. I drafted this one first before I started really digging into the scramble. I have so much Ben An and Sung Jae Im, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I only have one Sungjae team, and I was looking at it, I was like, I don't even think I noticed that there was no Sungjae until like 3 weeks ago. I was like, where the hell is he? But apparently he's close to returning.
Apparently he's back this week. He's in the field.
We'll see. We'll see if he actually tees it up, or maybe it's one of those things where he's going to hit his first tee shot and then say, "Okay, I'll collect my paycheck and go home now." But yeah, I'd love to see him back because we miss Sungjae, and hopefully when he does come back, it's the old Sungjae, not the one who is basically just Minwoo Lee with the irons and everything is 30 yards left or 30 yards right and never straight anymore.
So I was 35 of 148 in the scramble. I was 6 of 12 in the PME Open, which was nice, advancing, and I was 3 of 3 in the 150 PME, which I'm very excited about. Won all 3 of my pods there, wasn't a problem.
That's great. Especially, I mean, winning your own would be a really, really cool thing to do.
I would rather win the scramble and win the 50 grand or whatever it is, though, in fairness, instead of the 5. I'd take the 50K over the 5K, but just advancing, having all 3 bullets going through is really nice.
Yeah, and even though the top prize is lower, it's a $150 buy-in. So if you end up 5th place or something, you're going to get still a very nice payout.
Yes, because both of the PME contests that Underdog ran for the drafts are all flat payouts. So it does reward you for just being close to the top, not just at the top, which is always a hallmark of any Pat Mayo sponsored contest, be it the one and done Underdog drafts, the old DK contest, flat payouts. I always like it because A, I don't want to come in second and feel like I lost. That would be terrible. And then 2, after beating 100,000 other people and then being like, oh yeah, there's $1 million difference between first and second. That's no fun. And especially even with the weekly draft contest that we have on Underdog as well, it keeps the ecosystem going. It's not like you play once and then you're out of money. Like you're probably going to come somewhere near the cash, double your money, then you're back for next week.
Absolutely, and that's it's one of those things where I wish some of the larger contests thought of that as well, where it would be nice if the entire expected value that you're kind of chasing after isn't just in trying to get first place. And, I think that's especially true for like football, best ball, where the playoffs are so random when it's just about 1 week. And it'd be nice if there was a little bit more weight to actually just getting there and advancing into the playoffs.
2 holdover things from the Monday show that I put out. It's a 2-hour-long epic with me and Jeff being fired up the entire time for winning a bunch of cash on the weekend. Hopefully everyone out there ended up winning money as well. That'd be nice, although I can see why people wouldn't want to tail me after the heartbreak of the first 2 months. But when regression hits Blickle, it hits big time. But why were they pronouncing Ricky Castillo like that on the broadcast?
Apparently that's how he has suggested that it be pronounced. My thought is the only way this makes any sense is if Castillo does pronounce it Castillo and said, I don't know if Americans are smart enough to get that pronunciation correct because of the L, so I'll say Castillo, but it doesn't make any sense. There's no way that that's the right pronunciation.
So it's an Americanized thing. It's like when people pronounce the last name LeBlanc, like one of those things, or they pronounce Foyer.
Yeah, but this is from him. This is how he said you should pronounce it like this on the broadcast. So
it's wild stuff. Underdog's expanding the game. You already know their player picks. Pick higher or lower on player stats. Today, Underdog prediction markets are live in 25 states. Back your squad with spreads, handicap for closer game, or totals, higher, lower combined score, combined with player picks for bigger payouts. New customers play $5 on fantasy, get $75 in fantasy bonus entries. Code Mayo. Team picks, player picks, all on Underdog. Here's the thing. Endurance athletes never talk about this, but heavy lifting and training can quietly wreck sexual performance. Long cardio, high cholesterol, bad sleep, under recovery, it all hits the same systems that control blood flow and hormones. And when circulation drops, performance drops everywhere. Most guys reach for stimulants or prescriptions, but that's a blunt fix way downstream. Nitric oxide is the master switch for blood flow, endurance, and longevity. Once you understand that, Joy Mode makes total sense. If you want to support sexual performance the same way you should support training and recovery naturally and intelligently, Joy Mode has got a deal for my listeners. Go to tryjoymode.com/Mayo or enter Mayo at checkout for 20% off. Joy Mode, the electrolyte packet for your dick. The other big thing that I wanted to look into, and I went on a rant about this, but I wanted to get your take, was Scotty. We're going to get to him on DraftKings. He's 14,000 again, like he is every single week, but he's 3-1 again in the betting market against all these same guys. He has not been adjusted for. I don't want to say it's poor play, but it's not Scotty 3-1 favorite. He's not the guy. The guy that we're seeing on the course right now is not the guy who wins once every 3 weeks. Now, he could win this week, and it's going to feel stupid when you don't take him. But watching him, you can tell he's not the same.
Yeah, it's a stark difference than when he was not quite winning yet, like early in the season, either last year or especially 2 years ago, when the ball striking was there every single week. The tee to green game was there every single week, and he just wasn't making enough putts to win. It was like, there's one thing that he has to do better. But now the approach play hasn't been dominant. You and I were talking before we started that a big part of that is like even the distance control is off a little bit. It's one thing when he has a little bit of a left miss sneak in either off the tee or with the irons, and okay, he's going to figure that out at some point. He's going to make some more consistent swings. But the distance control has been weird. He keeps looking at Ted Scott like confounded by the mistake he just made. It's very un-Scotty-like. And beyond that, the results on the leaderboard have ended up being pretty good. But it really seems like he's been extremely fortunate to end up where he has on leaderboards, because it's taken not just like a bunch of chip-ins or long putts just to get there, but he's really relied on those to create some good mojo in his round and actually get things kicked off and started where, he's, let's say he's been, even par through 11 holes or something. And then he gets a chip in on the 12th and now he rattles off 4 birdies in the next 6 holes. It's like, okay, were those 4 birdies going to come if he hadn't chipped in, or was he, instead of 5 under through 16, going to be 1 under through 16 and now way, way back? And so it's been this like really, really weird Scotty where he's just struggling to get anything going. And the things that have gotten him going are the most unsustainable part of his early quote unquote success that he's had.
I compared him to Spieth after Spieth stopped being Spieth is kind of the way that he's getting it done right now, where Spieth would still come T4, but it would all be 35-foot putts and chip-ins and the tee to green. And Scotty's tee to green isn't bad. He's still like the best driver right now so far this season, but it is that iron play that you just expect from him, what separates him, and it's there, but it's not there, I guess is the best way to put it. You kind of said it. It's the confounded looks that he's having. Like, even when he was hitting the balls in the water in Phoenix and just like turning around being like, I don't know, bad lie, I guess.
Yeah, he's also adopting a little bit of that like Spieth desire to blame something other than his own execution that Spieth has become so famous for. I do think he's going to figure it out sooner than later. I'm not suggesting that he's going to start winning as frequently as he has in the past 2 years. I think we all kind of knew that that's an extremely impressive rate and is more likely to regress than sustain, or especially than to improve. But man, he's the difference between, because I actually agree. I think the Spieth comparison is a really good one, because before Spieth started falling down leaderboards, we saw that, hold on, like this strokes game profile no longer makes sense. He can't sustain this, even though he's still finishing well and being, at least close to contention. The difference between that and what Scotty's doing now is Spieth was actually like losing strokes with driving accuracy, for example, where Scotty's not as accurate as he's been. His iron play hasn't been as good as it has been, but it's still quite good. Yeah. So if this is the new baseline, he's still going to be fine. He's still going to contend, and he is still going to win at times, but it's not going to be anywhere close to what it was the last 2 years.
As of this moment, with the way that they're playing, it's shocking to me to see Rory $3,000 or $2,500 less on DraftKings than Scheffler, because it feels like Rory and Scheffler are neck and neck at the moment. And when we speak in a month's time, we'd be like, that was really silly. But with the way that they have been playing so far this year, Rory and Scheffler are basically the same.
Yeah, they definitely don't deserve this massive difference in price. However,
Here we
this
go.
is also the most intriguing the 6 and 7Ks have been, in at least in my mind, for who you need to use if you are using Scotty. So, as even though he looks worse and actually is going to project worse relative to his peers around the industry than he probably has for most of the season, this is probably the week that I'm most likely to actually play him. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to play him. I say that most likely. It's basically been 0% up until this point in the season. So I don't know where it is now, but it's not 0 anymore.
This was the roundabout point that I wanted to get to. How do you think this affects his DraftKings ownership this week? Because we've been seeing it slip basically each of the past 3 tournaments where he's been in, especially at the elevated events. Are we going to get, hey, Scotty doesn't have the juice anymore? Or is it Scotty's won here 2 of the past 4 years? This course is designed for him.
Yeah, I honestly my instinct is kind of that it's going to be in between, just as it's been the last couple of weeks, where you probably have a faction of the player pool that just thinks Scotty's still Scotty, and they're still really going in on projections, and projections still love him. He's still in a tier of his own of projections. And then you're going to get this other faction of the pool that is in the camp that we have largely been in so far this season, which is he's just not that much better than everybody else, and the lineup as a whole looks better without him. And so I think it's going to be somewhere like 20-30% again, just as it's been. I don't expect a crazy high number, and I don't expect a crazy low number. I would be very intrigued with a low number though this week. I think this week the magic number might be more like 15 to 20% for me, where below that I'm going to be in on him and above I won't be. Whereas to this point this season, it's probably been more like 5% as the magic number, which is why it's basically been 0% that I would actually use him, because there was no chance he was ever going to be 5%.
So let's put in a guess right now. It's still early on in the week. You haven't run your projections. Just thinking about it, would you, if I set the over under at 17.5, would you take the over or the under?
Over.
I think it might come under. Just based on 2 factors here. One, Rory's been playing great, and Rory's significantly cheaper. Rory also has a win here in the past, so people are in on Rory at the moment. And then Fitzpatrick is $9,800, and he's going to be the most owned guy.
Yeah, I think that the best argument against Scotty being popular is that there are so many guys that people are going to be interested in playing, not just the 9K range, but even above that. Like, I think this is probably the most interested people are going to be in Tommy so far this year, because now we've seen him play twice in the US and he was great in both. So now it's like, okay, yeah, this is still the same Tommy that we saw at the end of last year. Xander looks better. He's still not the Xander of 2 years ago that won 2 majors, but he looked quite good at the Genesis. He's played better golf this year. Now, the fact that he's playing well so far to start the year, I think gives a little bit more credence, a little more merit to the win he had in the fall. So there are just so many guys up here that people are going to be interested. Maybe they're going to be back in on Morikawa. So yeah, if you're in on these guys, you can't play Scotty mathematically. So I think it'll largely come down to how many of those guys are popular, and then also how strongly do people feel about the 8K range and the 9K range, because it's not so much like, am I playing Scotty or am I playing Tommy? It's, am I playing Scotty or am I playing Tommy and Morikawa and Fitzpatrick or something like that, right? So it's really about all of those guys and how much conviction the field has on that entire range.
Well, let's start off by trying to build out the non-Scotty, what we think is going to be a common build with the rest of them. We'll cross him off, and then we'll circle back to see what those lineups end up looking like. I feel like Fitz is in all these lineups.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I don't think we need to make like a hard and fast rule of he's either the first click or the second click. I think we'll see plenty. We'll see he's the first click, and there are going to be 4 guys over 8,500 in that lineup. We're going to see he's the third click with Tommy and Xander as well. So we're going to see a wide range of types of lineups that Fitzpatrick is in.
So Fitzpatrick, number 1. Who do you think else is going to be, from anywhere on the list, is going to be more popular than their peers?
I would say we can put We can put Xander in for now and say that that spot is for Xander or Tommy, because I think a lot of lineups are going to have at least one of those two guys.
Okay, so we have those two, $10,900 at the top of our lineups. Now we're going down. Is there anyone chalk-wise that you can, like, is Nicolai Højgaard going to be super owned at $7,200? I say yes.
I say yes, and I think he deserves to be. That's a really low price tag for someone who's playing this well and is a great scorer and fits the golf course. He's just underpriced.
I have bet him to win this week, so that would make sense. I bet him to win like every week. And part of the discussion with him versus so other guys around him, I mean, Straka, I think, is wildly underpriced again, even though we had two really bad rounds at Genesis. But $7,400 is a good price for him. But even though I bet Noren as well, Noren's not in the same bucket as these guys, but Noren, Taylor, Gerard, Spawn, yeah, he won the U.S. Open. He hasn't done anything since. Harry Hull, Nico, Sam Stevens, Corey Connors. I mean, I'm sure you love Corey Connors this week, especially based on what he's done here in the past, but he's been terrible so far this year.
I don't love him this week. There are definitely guys in that range I like more, like Keith Mitchell. But I don't know if anyone in this range is going to be super popular. I think this is kind of the range where there are going to be plenty of guys that people like. And my guess is we're going to have, a handful that are 10 to 15% and clearly more popular than some of their really contrarian peers. But I have a harder time seeing someone other than Nicolai being, 25%. Maybe Gerard, even though he was a bit of a letdown last week, like he still played decently well.
Yeah, he struck the ball really well. He struck birds really well, too, off the tee. He just can't chip or putt, which is a problem, but that can flip. Who knows? One lucky. We've seen Victor chip well with this course over the years. That when you get such long rough sometimes that it benefits the bad around the green players. We're like next week at the Players, if you're bad around the greens, you are going to get exposed because everything around the greens is a tight lie. You need to be Justin Thomas, Cam Smith, Scotty Scheffler, the guys with the ultimate touch who can put whatever spin they want on the ball to get it to stop. It's more of like chunk it out of the rough and hope your rollout is good.
100%. And we actually see that in the course fit model this week that we have over at FTN Fantasy, where around the green play is one of the least predictive of the entire season here at Bay Hill. It's a ball striker's course. You've got to be long. You've got to be straight off the tee. Iron play is going to matter a lot. And to your point, I think a big reason why this is the case is because you just don't have a ton of control on your short game shots. It's very lie dependent. A lot of the time you're going to be short-sighted. So it puts a little bit more randomness and is a little bit less where your short game performance in the week is dependent on how good you are with your short game. And it's more just kind of the luck of the draw. Did you miss in the right spots, things of that nature? And I think that helps explain why Victor has actually been decent with his short game at times, because his ball striking is so good that a lot of the time when he misses, his misses are smaller and they're easier to handle than someone who missed big and now has to, face a demanding short game shot at such a tough golf course.
I would guess, not having seen your course fit model, that the U.S. Open probably plays exactly the same way.
It's similar. It's not quite the same. We definitely get more around the green signal at the U.S. Open than we do here, and I think that is because the greens are so difficult to hit, and you have so many shots where you're coming into the green knowing I'm not going to be able to hit this close. I'm probably not even going to be able to hit this green. Where can I miss such that I have the best chance of getting up and down? And that then translates into people are like, you're actually getting signal of course management and missing in the right spots, where here at Bay Hill, like let's use 16, the par 5 as an example. When guys are hitting into that green, they don't need to play defensive. They can say, I'm going for this pin, or I'm trying to hit this to 20 feet. And if they accidentally miss club and they're long, now they're dead. And to that point also, like the number one mistake they can't make is being short in the water. So long is actually the better miss, but long is also then sometimes a really, really difficult up and down. And so they don't get the opportunity to optimize misses based on what is the easiest up and down and the one where they have the most control over, the same way they do at a US Open most of the time.
If you want all of the bets, all of the ownership, and more of a breakdown, especially with the weather, the closer that we get to the actual start of the event, hit the description or just go to substack.com and join the free Mayo Media newsletter. I'll have all of the notes for the week all wrapped up coming out on Wednesday afternoon if you're looking for it. If you don't have 5 hours to consume all the content, you got a 5-minute read if that's what you want to do, and it's completely free, gets sent directly to you. So please go do that. Smash the like and sub to the channel while you're here. Back to Nicolai Højgaard just for a minute, only because my point on him was versus the other names that are around him. Now, we have not seen this in the United States as of yet, a big breakthrough type win. However, I have seen it in Europe against the very top guys that are in this field, which is not really what I can say about any of these other guys in this range. Yes, Nick Taylor's won like 5 times, but one of them I would classify, even the one that, even Waste Management that he won wasn't against all of the best guys. That was the year before when he came in third and lost to Rahm Scheffler. That I can see Nicolai going toe-to-toe with these guys versus, listen, Sam Stevens is great and all. Will Sam Stevens beat Nicolai? Maybe. Which one will win? Probably Nicolai between the two.
Yeah, and if Nicolai is in contention against one of the best players in the world, it's not going to feel like he has an inferior game to them. Like he's driving it as far or further than most guys. He's driving it as straight or straighter than most guys. His iron play is really good. He makes putts. Really, his only weakness compared to most of the elite players is short game, and that's the least predictive part of golf this week. So I love Nicolai as well. I'm with you. I already have the outright on him. So hopefully Nicolai is this week's Nico.
That would be great. And I talked Jeff off of Nicolai Højgaard as his one and done. Why don't you just take the other Nico Echeverria? He's like, sure, let's do that. Now he's beating me in the one and done. So smart move on my part.
Oops.
So we're looking at this lineup. We have the 2 high end. We got Fitz, Nicolai from down low, and then Xander in at that one spot. Where do we go from here? Because you can fill it out because you have $7,600 left. You can do like what I would do and go Straka, Noren, and 8,300. Almost get you to Ludwig, who I would try to actually prioritize Ludwig here because I bet on Ludwig. I like him this week. But if we don't do that, is there someone else that we can go down to low? You said you like Keith Mitchell. He's $6,900. Below him is like Orion Fox for you in this field. I mean, there's your boy Sung Jae, $6,500. If anything had WD written all over it, it's right there.
I'm not sure I'd call him my boy. I think if you're going to call someone else my boy down here, it's going to be Sahith Theegala for sure. But
why Theegala? Like, why Theegala over someone like Akshay, who's accurate and has great irons?
Well, when I say that he's one of my guys, I don't necessarily mean that I like him this week specifically. I more so just mean that like he was one of my favorite draft picks for best ball this year, a buy low candidate on someone who I thought was going to have a much better season than what he showed us last year. So far, so good on that call. Hopefully he continues to play well. But to answer your question directly, I don't actually have a good answer for why he's a better play this week specifically than some of the other guys down here. I think the next place that I would go is actually kind of along your thought about Oberg is find the guy that you like the most in the 8K range, knowing we only can fit one more guy. And I don't think there's anyone else outside of Nicolai who really, really separates as like a great play in the 7s. So let's find our 8K guy that we love. And then whatever we need to do in the last 2 spots to fit that, we're going to be okay with.
So for me, it's Ludwig.
For me, it would be Knapp, but I'm good with Ludwig as well.
And Knapp rates out great for me. Ludwig is cheaper. And I think about it, and this is actually a really foolish way to do it, but it's just how my mind works. When I'm sitting there on Sunday and I'm seeing someone being presented, the winner being interviewed on the green, walking off, in my mind, that's Ludwig. It's not Jake Knapp.
That's fair. I think this is a DraftKings lineup, not an outright. So yeah. We should also be thinking about who's going to finish 5th with a lot of birdies and who's going to, consistently give us a good performance and not make us wonder what happened to his golf game over the last 2 years, like we often have with Oberg over the last, let's say, year and a half now, really, with his worst play. But everything that you could say positively about Oberg right now, you can say about Knapp as well. And there are things you can say about Knapp that are good that you can't say about Oberg right now.
I would tend to agree. I would look at long-term pedigree. I think that sometimes we do live in the moment, and you've been the king of this. Ludwig, bet his over finishing position 20.5. That was like an underdog, like free square for a while because he just wasn't putting in these high end performances. But I do like him at longer tracks. I like him at harder tracks. And it's hard to overlook what he did the final 3 days at Riviera. He played well. And sometimes that's what you need to see from him. Then boom. That again, yes, we're playing DraftKings. We're looking for scoring. It's crazy to think that the more volatile player is Ludwig versus Knapp, but he's also cheaper. And I do think that he has a better chance to win this tournament. That sometimes when you're dealing with a signature event like this, getting as much win equity into your lineup as possible to mitigate, especially in this lineup, not having Scotty or Rory is very helpful.
I think maybe a good way to make the case for Oberg is to say if both of these guys had their A game, Oberg's probably the guy that we want. And there's a decent argument to be made that what we've seen from Knapp is close to his A game, and it's resulted in a 5th, 8th, 6th, not a second place, not a win in a field like this. So do I think that what we've seen from Knapp actually is the A game? No, I think he does have room to be a little bit better. He wasn't even great off the tee at Pebble or the Genesis, so we know that there's improvement to be made there. But he's made a lot of putts. The irons have been really, really good, and he's still super long off the tee. So I think we're getting really quality golf a lot more often from Knapp than we would from Oberg. But if you told me we get the A game for both, I'd be with you on Oberg's side.
It is strange that the names that we gravitated towards in this 8K range probably aren't what people would instantly come to mind. With some, like there's not a lot of name brand power here that you consider elite players, but you do have Cantlay and English and Ben Griffin, who, if you ask people 2 months ago, hey, the guy's like the 3rd best player in the world. Victor's there, Kitayama, who's won here, Lowry. Lowry, I think, is super interesting coming off that devastating loss this week because he has played this tournament really well in the past. Ricky rates out really well for me, and I'm terrified of that.
I told you he was projecting really well for us early in the season. He's kind of backed it up. Ironically, he's not projecting as well as some of the guys around him, but I think the field's also catching up a little bit. Like one of the things that I really loved at the beginning of the year was I saw Ricky projecting pretty well and nobody wanted to play him. So I liked that aspect of it where I think he's going to get at least some ownership this week.
So for me, it's Ludwig, then it's probably Goddard, then Knapp as my 3 favorite 8K plays.
Mine would be Knapp first. I think I'm with you on Goddard. I'd also throw Kitayama into the mix.
I've seen him do this before, that he hits this peak and then he goes away for 4 months.
Yeah, it has definitely happened prior. I will say this, Pat. We haven't really talked a ton about Hovland. It wouldn't surprise me if he's the field's preferred option in this range.
I was going to say Hovland or Kitayama were going to be the 2 favorites here.
And by the way, if Kitayama is one of the field's favorites, then he's not going to be my favorite in this range because of what you said. It's like there's a little bit of uncertainty around him that I'm not interested in when he is super popular. But yeah, so if you want to throw Oberg into this lineup right now, I'm 100% comfortable with it.
So I threw in Ludwig here after putting in Keith Mitchell at 69. That left us with 7,700. So when I drop down, you have Rose, Minwoo, McNeely, Adam Scott are all at 79 and 78. So I was left with a choice between Jason Day, Jacob Bridgman, both at 77, Cootie and Justin Thomas at 76, or that Akshay Keegan range of $7,500. I opted for Cootie because everything that you said about Jake Knapp, I feel about Pearson Cootie. Now I want to get your take on this because I threw this out to Jeff, that when assessing Jake Knapp, and I think you're going to be the opposite here of what we came to the conclusion of, I think he's closer to Pearson Cootie than he is to Chris Goddard in terms of where he's actually at and his overall upside. But that's also me potentially overrating Cootie, that I think he's really good, but I think that Goddard is a cut above those guys.
From a projection standpoint, I can tell you that I think that Knapp is closer to Goddard, but I think there's an argument to be made here that it's actually more of a compliment to Cootie than it is an insult to Knapp that you're saying, because I think Cootie is also very good. I mean, we actually don't have much separation at all between the three in our projections. So I think Cootie works quite well in this lineup, and like Knapp, one of the really nice things about him is we know that the primary driver of his success, pun a little bit intended here, is the driver. And so that's likely not going anywhere. And so, the marginal gains that he's made throughout the rest of his game are going to continue going a long way, because this primary reason why he's good and why he's competing is going to be there. He's going to continue to hit the ball long, and he's probably going to continue to hit the ball straight off the tee as well. And that just makes life so much easier on a golf course.
Number 1 in driving in this field, strokes gained off the tee. Obviously, he's doing that. He and Scotty are number 1 and 2, and they do it with Cootie has more distance than Scotty. Scotty's slightly more accurate, but of all of the bombers in this field, Cootie is easily the most accurate.
Yeah, he's very, very impressive. Now, our strokes gained driving accuracy measures accuracy a little bit differently. So we have him very accurate, but we don't have him like amongst the most accurate in the field. That's Scotty, that's Colin, Siwoo, some of the longer guys. Kitayama, Goddard, Adam Scott. We should talk about Adam Scott too, by the way, but Cootie's up there among the bombers as well in accuracy.
So this is what I have right now in terms of strokes gained ball striking. Because we mentioned that around the green, there's not a lot of signal there for this tournament. Bad guys can be good guys can be bad. Very lie dependent. Putting is really weird at Bay Hill. Another reason to like Nicolai, because you see a lot of long putts go in at Bay Hill and a lot of shorties miss. That is the Nicolai Højgaard game plan. You give him 40 feet in, give him 2 feet, miss. That's what he was doing that's what he was doing on Sunday at the PGA National.
Yeah, he just needed 1 or 2 more of those and 1 or 2 fewer short ones, and he might have really made some noise. But yeah, there's a ton to like about Cootie and Nicolai and just this like entire almost prototype of golfer, where if you hit the ball long and straight at Bay Hill, you turn a lot of these holes into completely different holes, where the guys who are not long off the tee and a little bit inaccurate, they're playing some of the hardest golf holes that they will play all season. But if you drive it long and straight on those holes, it's a very manageable approach shot to a very manageable green complex. It's just that everything becomes infinitely harder on this course if you're not in position off the tee.
It's the one thing I worry about with Nicolai this week, that I've seen him get squirrely off the tee with his accuracy, that he can just, even in Phoenix, and when he ended up making that triple bogey, that it's almost like the first time or every time that Minwoo has played here, he just hits it in the water 8 times.
Yeah, I think it was Knapp actually 2 years ago who
got going bad
in the water on 6 like 3 times that one round, and it was like, oh, I guess he's not that accurate anymore off the tee. But I'll tell you this, I mean, Nicolai has been driving the ball extremely accurately now since the latter half of last season. So I think it's a skill set that we can pretty confidently believe in at this point.
Especially at the odds and the price. Like, you're giving up something the farther you go down the board in terms of skills. So you're trying to find the guy with the best complement of skills down there that can elevate. And I think that's very clearly Nicolai at this point, based on his profile, his age, the way that he's ascending right now, the way that we've seen him ascending before over in Europe, making a Ryder Cup team 3 years ago at age like 20, that it would make a lot of sense. And it's almost the same case for Ludwig as well. Just he got there a lot faster than Nicolai did. But the top 10 ball strikers in this field over the past 6 months, so basically this season, Siwoo, Scotty, Cootie, Fitzpatrick, Gerard, Nicolai, Rory, Colin, Goddard, Scott, Kitayama's at number 11. You can if you take Scotty out of that, or hell, take even Rory out of that, you can just construct lineups with those guys.
Yeah, those are all really solid plays. I don't have an issue with any of them at all. And that also kind of gives you, this similar skill set across the board, where if that's what really matters this week, then they're all going to benefit.
And it doesn't seem like there's a ton of wind in the forecast this week either. There is wind, but not that wind that you see at Bay Hill sometimes that makes the course impossible. That's not cropping up yet.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see the firmness of the greens. I think they should be really firm, and that's definitely what we want to see, and that's when Bay Hill has its full teeth.
Who else do you like here? Because even going down, like then you get into Mitchell, Lowry, Xander. Thorbjornsen's interesting. I can't recall a single time Thorbjornsen's played well at a waterlogged course.
Yeah.
Is he the new EVR?
Could be. He's definitely, I think, like a tier behind, let's say, like the Nicolais and Goddard and Cootie, just in terms of like the being in control of the ball striking, where I think he just has more bad misses where he doesn't know why he missed in that spot.
He was bad at the 3M last year, like horribly bad at the 3M a year ago in this spot as well. So just, I mean, the PGA National and 3M, I do believe, have the most water, and then it's Bay Hill. That something to look at. Just also, some guys just get freaked out when there's a bunch of water around.
It's part of the swing thought, right? Is if you're presented with kind of an equal miss right and left, and it's not that penal, all you're thinking about is the possibility of hitting a good shot and hitting it close, and then you throw water tight to the right, and now it's like, oh God, I can't miss right, I can't miss right, I can't miss right, and that makes you do some strange things in your swing.
So do you want to build out a Rory lineup here? Because this lineup ended up being Xander, Fitzpatrick, Ludwig, Cootie, Højgaard, and then Keith Mitchell at $6,900. And we can't really upgrade it anywhere at the top. You could go down from Xander to Morikawa if you really wanted to and leave some money on the table. Probably not necessary, but just to speak once again on the 6K range where Mitchell seems that was the guy that I had identified right away as well as the one that I liked. Is there anyone else down here that you really want to make a case for this week?
No, it's Mitchell and Højgaard for me. I think the Rory question is who's the guy in this lineup that we think is the weak spot, and then what does a 2v2 look like if you go from, let's say, Xander to Rory, or maybe you want to get a little bit more contrarian and go Fitz to Rory?
Yeah, that's the move. Fitz to Rory, and then that either drops Ludwig into the high sixes, or Rory, or we just drop Xander to Goddard. There's your 2v2. Goddard, Rory versus Xander and Fitz is exactly 2v2.
Yeah, that to me is a really, really interesting 2v2, and I don't even know what my preference is. I think it's probably Rory Goddard, just expecting less ownership to be on this pairing.
I think I'm with you as a DraftKings lineup. Obviously, I bet Fitz to win this week. I really like Fitz. Now, if you got there and be like, oh yeah, Fitz hasn't lost strokes putting at this event in 10 years, ever. He's played it 10 times, never lost strokes putting. There was ever a year for him to do it would be this year, and he's just out of the tournament. Or he's just not the most elite ball striker in the world, like he has been for 6 weeks now. He reverts back to what he usually is, and then all of a sudden he has to make these putts to contend.
And also bring up that lineup again if you can. Notice we have Oberg, Cootie, Højgaard, Mitchell. Those are 4 bombers. Which pair fits that lineup more? Goddard and Rory, 2 bombers, or Fitz and Xander? So I think the Goddard Rory pairing, even if you like Fitz and Xander more than Goddard and Rory, in this lineup, the Goddard and Rory pairing might be better.
So looking at strokes gained off the tee versus driving distance, I mean, Scheffler's actually up there in driving distance so far this season. We got like Cootie, Mitchell, Goddard are there. Adam Scott would be a plug and play on here as his driving distance has gone way up, and he's been very good off the tee. He's 14th in the field. Like Siwoo is an outlier here. More like you could build the Siwoo Morikawa lineup, which, I mean, Siwoo didn't do anything at this tournament last year, but with Henley, Morikawa, I think Straka was up there. There is a different version of guys who gain a bunch off the tee but don't do it through distance that plays at this tournament as well, if it's one of those years.
Yeah, and so just to be clear, like I'm not at all saying that when we're building lineups for Bay Hill, we need to make sure that everyone's a bomber. My point is
I understand that, but to link people up, like you can make a different iteration of that lineup that we just built. So it'd be like Tommy, Morikawa, Siwoo, and then when we go down, Straka is most definitely one of those guys. Connors would probably be one of those guys. And then who would it be from down here? I mean, it would be Sungjae, but I have no idea.
Yeah, if he was healthy, it would definitely be Sungjae.
Who's the best of these like bum guys off the tee? Damon. Is Damon in the field? He's not in the field, right? He got bumped last second?
I think so, but regardless, I think that this is definitely a week where you almost want to pretend that 6,600 and down doesn't even exist from a DraftKings perspective, because that to me is where the largest tier break of talent is.
So at 66, you have JT Poston, Matt McCarty, and Denny McCarthy. And then you get into Sungjae, Chris Kirk, Potgieter, Taylor Moore, Austin Smotherman, like all those guys. Just you wouldn't even put in everyone's main man, Patrick Rogers?
I don't think so. In fact, I think you could even make an argument that the tier break's actually at 68, that Berger and Pendrith are significantly better than and Thigala are significantly better than Grazerman, Fox.
Fox is good though. I worry that at a course where Fox can't spray it around, that's an issue, but I don't hate his skill set for here.
I don't disagree.
Maybe.
He's also a much better like mid and long iron player than wedge player, which I think plays well here.
Yeah, you don't see a whole lot of wedge shots here, like really in close wedge shots.
Yeah, in fact, if you're hitting a lot of wedge shots, it means you're laying up from the rough, and that wasn't very good.
No. So Stevens, Nicolai, I guess Gerard would be someone who would fit into this sort of build.
Very much so. So yeah, like you could take Morikawa or Siwoo down to
Henley,
down to somebody, and then do what you have to do to fit Gerard. Because I think you're right. Gerard is a much better fit for this lineup than anyone below that.
Yeah, you just take Fleetwood down to Henley, basically. You have
works.
$300 on the table. There you go. Henley, Morikawa, Siwoo, Straka, Connors, Gerard. Short hitting, but guys who gain a bunch off the tee by keeping themselves out of the rough, out of the water, and are all very good iron players.
Yes. Yeah. Hovland's driver hasn't been very good this year, but it was better last event, and obviously his iron play is spectacular. So like he also fits this type of lineup well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy who would fit this lineup perfectly is Scotty.
Yes, but if you go with Scotty, now you've got to find 5 other guys in the 7 and 6K range, not Colin and Siwoo. So that's a little bit harder to do.
Well, let's try that out. Let's build a Scotty lineup, because I'm kind of with you that this is the first week that I could see myself being like, hey, I'm making 50 lineups, 25 of them are Scotty. If what I think plays out, that people they're not actively avoiding him, but they are going to avoid him.
I think they will. Yeah. To a large point. And I don't think it's going to be that people are actively trying not to use Scotty. It's more that they can't justify paying that much more for somebody when he's not winning right now and he's not even playing that well. So I think there's definitely a chance that we get a lower owned Scotty this week, and it makes a lot more sense to play him than what we've seen in the past few weeks. And part of that is because now we can also click some guys alongside Scotty that we feel really, really good about, which we haven't really been able to do so far this season. At least, maybe we've been able to find 1 or 2 that we really liked, but at some point in the lineup, we're clicking guys that we don't feel good about. And this week, like 2 immediate clicks, Nicolai and Keith Mitchell, I love. And I think that the 3rd, 4th, and 5th guys that I click beyond that with Scotty, I'm still going to like them. I'm still going to feel like they're good plays and not just the best of bad options.
So who else do we throw in here? I think Gerard fits this lineup pretty well.
Yep.
Now we have 7,300 per player. If we go to Cootie, what do we get left with? $7,000? I mean, is this a week to just punt on Connors, believing that there's something about Florida, there's something about this course in particular that he just plays well? Because since the Sony, and as you mentioned, it's a very small sample size based on what his baseline has been over the course of his career, but there's something wrong here.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer to chase him upside with Thorbjornsen, or even Pendrith, scores a ton. But I think Thorbjornsen's probably our best option.
Or what about Grazerman? Like because you mentioned Ludwig in a weird way, that like you get the A game and he's awesome, or if he's off, he's just really bad. Kind of feel like Grazerman's the minor league version of that. When he's on, he's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Grazerman would have to be meaningfully lower owned than Thorbjornsen for me to go to Grazerman instead, but that's probably a likely outcome. Like I certainly expect Thorbjornsen to be higher owned than Grazerman. So Grazerman definitely has the upside and is also a very good scorer, just like Thorbjornsen.
You wouldn't, but just based on, we've seen a lot of guys do well at Torrey here over the years, just the classically long, thicker, rough type driver heavy courses. All of that would actually lead me to Sam Stevens here.
That's an interesting thought.
Because he's if there's one thing Sam Stevens does, it's being great off the tee.
Yeah, and I did mention the fact that like you can't, it's not that you can't just be long here, but you're going to really be rewarded for long and straight, and Stevens has been that quite a bit. So I think Stevens is a very interesting call, and I do expect him to be overlooked.
Well, there's no reason to play him here. Like when you're taking a gander at some of these, all the names are so much sexier. Like I mentioned this about Austin Smotherman last week, is that people like Austin Smotherman mainly because his last name is Smotherman. That if it was Smith, people wouldn't play him. Sam Stevens has about as generic of a name as possible. It's far more fun to play Nico Echeverria or JJ Spawn or Michael Thorbjornsen than Sam Stevens.
They also have flashier golf games. So yeah, I think that applies all around.
So this is an example of a Scheffler lineup. I guess the issue becomes, if we play Nicolai with Scheffler, I would guess that Nicolai is the most paired person with Scotty.
I'd be shocked if he wasn't. Now, the only, I think, like, if we're wrong about that, he's still the second most or the third most. So yeah, the question is going to be, how do we make somewhat of a different lineup with Scotty? And I think the answer might be actually trying to kind of avoid the low sevens and maybe live in the 6K range and then go up once to the upper sevens or the low eights. And so maybe like taking Cootie and Stevens out and then seeing, let's see. So Cootie and Stevens out, and then let's see if we turn Stevens into Grazerman. Now we're left with 79. Yeah. So
herein becomes a lot of the issue, and this is what we found on the betting board as well. This like Lowry, Burns, Fowler, Rose, Minwoo, McNeely, maybe Adam Scott is actually the play. Day, Bridgman, JT. Like until you get back down to Cootie again, all these guys feel really overvalued.
I like Rose and Scott here.
Okay.
I don't think that they necessarily project better than Cootie, but especially with Rose, like we still have the volatility argument with him. When he is on, he is so good. He can lap this field as we've already seen this year. So I think he's a really good play again, because I don't expect him to be super popular. So anytime someone this volatile is not chalk, that's an opportunity. And Adam Scott, it's hard to ignore what he has done with the speed. It's incredible at 45 years old or whatever he is to now be one of the fastest players on tour, and he's driving the ball more accurately. Like if you looked at, what was holding him back, let's say 2 years ago, it was that he couldn't drive the ball straight. He has simultaneously gotten significantly faster and significantly straighter off the tee, and that allows the rest of his game to really take advantage. So I'm definitely high on Adam Scott this week, and I obviously like Rose as well, just kind of an eternal interest in Rose because of how volatile he is.
Adam Scott ranks 6th in this field in ball speed so far this season. Would you like to try to guess the 5 players above him?
Rory
is number 3.
Is Minwoo in this field?
Yes, he is.
Minwoo.
He's number 4.
Nicolai
is number 2.
Man, I don't think Xander. Goddard
Goddard is 7th, just behind Adam Scott, and Xander is 8th, just behind Goddard.
Okay. Keith.
No, it's not Keith. Shockingly enough, Keith's actually kind of way down in ball speed. I mean, he's not way down. He's 178, but he's in that Scotty, Mav, Sam Stevens, Fitzpatrick range.
I should have been able to guess that, because I was watching a ton of him this week, and I was surprised given how far he was hitting that his ball speed was around like 180. So he must just have the launch absolutely optimized.
Potgieter number 1. And your boy.
So I'm missing one guy.
You're missing one guy. You love him.
Knapp
is number 5.
Nice.
And then Adam Scott.
It's incredible.
So what?
Right?
21, 22, 26, 28, then Rory, because it's Rory, and then old man Adam Scott.
If we were predicting the top, or if we were trying to rank ball speed as of March 2nd at the beginning of this season, how far down the line would we have Adam Scott? Like 30th?
Yeah, even someone like Cameron Young, I would be like, oh, of course Cameron Young kills Adam Scott. And
Yeah.
Cameron Young is he and Ryan Fox are like right around the same, just behind Pearson Cootie, who's inside the top 10, right by Xander. But yeah, maybe I think I should give some more look to Ryan Fox. Ryan Fox is excellent out of the rough. He just has so much power that he can get the ball out of there.
Yeah, very strong, very violent swing. That's a very interesting call. Let me check something real quick. I want to see if the data that I have on approach play backs that up, that Fox is great at. Oh yeah, he's outstanding from the rough. So that might be a really good call.
So maybe that's the pivot. Instead of using Grazerman down there, you end up using Fox. Because I doubt, I mean, not that I think that Grazerman's going to be super popular, but I just have a soft spot for Ryan Fox. You know, get me some Kiwis, get me some New Zealanders in the lineup. There's like one of them that comes around every 30 years. You got Michael Campbell, then you got Ryan Fox. Maybe he can do something on a big stage.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's a good pivot, and honestly, like you can pivot to a lot of the guys down here. You know, especially because it's a no cut event. It's hard to get really penalized by one of those decisions. And so whatever conviction you have down here, I think you can pretty safely just follow it.
So it seems to me like we both like Nicolai, Gerard, and Mitchell. Maybe now Fox enters that fray as lower end guys. I really like Cootie, obviously. Norrin and Straka, I've bet. I just like them in general, but objectively looking at this field, I probably like Cootie better and those lower guys a little bit better. And then at the top, I think a lot of this week comes down to it's usually like too Scotty or not too Scotty type week. I really do feel like the decision's going to be like, how much Fitzpatrick do you want to play? How much do you want to ride with that? Because he's going to be 25% owned, I'd guess.
For me, I think the decision's going to be more about how owned are the guys that I like in the 6 and 7K range, because if they're kind of low owned and that to me it seems like one of the bigger ownership inefficiencies on the slate, then I'm just going to load up on those guys, and that takes me very comfortably to Scotty. Whereas if they're all owned and I got to find some other way to separate from the field, then I might just kind of naturally be taken off of Scotty from that.
Well, what would be too much ownership for Nicolai Højgaard, would you say? Do you think he'll crack 20%? Is he going to crack 10%? Because sometimes I do feel like we overestimate and give too much credit to what the field is going to do with some of these lower end names.
This is, I think, maybe a more complicated answer than you're looking for, but it's not so much whether or not I'm going to play Nicolai. I think I'm probably playing him regardless of his ownership, but it's what role is Nicolai playing in my lineup? Is he just a high probability play that's there because I really like the rest of my lineup and I think the rest of my lineup can give me the separation that I need, and now Nicolai is just trying to preserve that advantage that I have? Or is Nicolai one of those reasons why my lineup can very quickly get to the top of the leaderboard, and now I can just surround him with high probability plays that are just designed to, preserve the advantage that I've already created for myself? And so if Nicolai is one of those separators, low owned, I don't, it's a little bit hard to like just give a specific number, but I certainly under 10%, he's a separator. Under 15%, he might still be a separator. Under if he's 15 to 20, now he probably can't be a true separator for you anymore. So now he converts to a high probability play. And basically, like if you just assign separator or high probability play to everyone in your lineup, and you have, let's say, 3 of each or 2 of one and 4 of the other, you're going to build a pretty good lineup. If you have too many separators and not enough high probability plays, it's probably too contrarian. If you have too many high probability guys and not enough guys who can actually help you separate, now you're too chalky and you're going to cash a lot at a good rate, but you're not going to get those actual takedowns that, really create the year for you. So, like I said, much more complicated answer than you're looking for Nicolai's ownership, but that's sort of the way that I think about DFS. And so it's hard for me to answer in a more straightforward way for him specifically.
I think that's very helpful, though, of trying to break everyone into tiers and what do you need in your lineup, rather than being, hey, this guy's 15%, I can't play him anymore because this other guy is 5%. I think that makes a lot of logical sense.
I'm glad. Great to hear.
So yeah, I'm going to start doing that. Maybe I won't come in third in these big tournaments. I'll come in first.
Yeah, or maybe it'll come in 18th. It'll be like, damn it, Alex.
Yeah, screw me. Got me again. You make any bets so far this week?
Yes, I think I've made 3 now. Nap, Nicolai, and who was the third one? I should remember this. I did it like an hour ago, 2 hours ago. But let's see. It was Justin Rose. Shocker.
You love Justin Rose.
I love how volatile he is. I love how good his A game is.
It is interesting that every time that Justin Rose has entered my life personally, he's won a tournament. So he stayed in the room next to me when I was at Southwind last year, talked to him in the elevator for a bit, didn't even think about betting him. I had money on JJ Spawn, who he beat in a playoff, so that was fun. But kudos to him, very nice guy. And this morning, because I'm going to Florida for TGL and then I'm playing around with Jeff, and my golf coach sent me a 40-second video. He's like, this is what you need to keep as your swing thought. This is what we've been working on. And if you ever have any issues, just consult this 40-second video and it'll get it back in your head. It's a video of Justin Rose walking through his swing.
That's great. I love that. Can you send me that clip? I'm curious just to know what you're working on and what Justin had to say.
Well, I can tell you right now, I don't really utilize the ground at all. And I think that's a problem that a lot of especially either high handicap, mid handicap, or just AMs have, that they don't know how to use the ground. For years, you hear about it. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm pressing down with my foot or trying to figure out what's going on, but you're not actually doing it. But what I've been working on with my coach over the past 3 months is, he's like, a lot of golf coaches will tell you not to do Scheffler's slide. He's like, look at every single player right now. They're all sliding before dropping their hands. They're getting their momentum forward, their chest staying down, getting down in the ball, and creating so much lag behind them. It's giving them all this power. He's like, how do you think Justin Thomas hits it 320 yards? How does Rory do it? It's like they're using the ground by getting the momentum going first and then firing through the ball at the very last second. So it's a video essentially breaking that down. And I've been adding distance. The problem is my contact now, I feel like I'm getting thrown off by trying to think of too many things. But if I can just simplify it down to these two things, get your momentum forward and bring your lead arm down instead of really trying to get away from over the top to create a bunch of lag and then explode at the ball. When it works for me, I've probably added 30 yards of distance.
Love that. A good drill to try and to make it even more like a natural movement for you is when your club gets parallel behind you in your takeaway, lift your front foot off the ground, almost like a batter in baseball. And then as soon as the club gets back to the same spot on the downswing, it should come back to the ground. And now you're using that to really push off and almost jump off the ground through impact. If you start to do it right, the sequencing will become a lot more natural and intuitive. And then from there, you can just go and fire, and it takes less thought to do that.
I like it. When I have been able to time it up, basically creating the lag and then exploding at the ball and really getting my wrists into it, with my body in the right way, it just flies. It's not like any other shot that I've ever hit before, regardless of club. I'm not doing it with an 8-iron. I can hit an 8-iron pretty well, but I hit my 5-iron very poorly. When I put this into the mix and hit a 5-iron, it feels like when I hit a 9-iron, I'm actually hitting it off the face. It's getting the right trajectory. When I hit a 3 hybrid, it does the same thing. And when you hit with the driver, it doesn't even feel like the ball hits the club when you do it.
Yeah, one of those per round, and you're back. You're back the next day because it's such a good feeling that we're always chasing it.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about Nico's shot on 17. That was a pure miss hit, right?
Yeah, and even more than a miss hit, it was just well right of his target. He was aimed so much further left than where that ball ended up. And you could tell immediately, he felt the fact that he made a mistake. And I guarantee you the thought through his mind after he made contact while he was still staring at the ground was, oh my God, I just hit it in the water. So pretty awesome result from that.
I bet so many people this week across 3 tournaments. You want to hear the round of losers I have for Puerto Rico?
Yes.
So I did bet Michael Brennan, and I got him boosted to 42-1. Anyone who is in Canada outside of Ontario can go get that at CoolBet right now. So you can hit the description and go do that, get your bonus, and then it's under the PME exclusives tab. I have him and Fitz boosted up. So 30-1 for Fitz and 42-1 for Brennan. And to cycle back to this, I think Brennan's just a great bet. I know that you've talked about this. EPAT has talked about it. And I've tried to break it down when I go through the rabbit hole on the research shows. He has a skill that essentially no one else has. He's first or second in the field every week in driving now.
It's incredible. I don't think that his putting and short game is quite PGA Tour ready, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to have weeks where it's good enough.
That's the thing. Can he luck into that, knowing he has the most important skill and he's the best at that?
Yes, and I also think, as we talked a little bit last week with Higo, like it's more likely that he's going to have that spike week when he's in a field where he knows, okay, I'm one of the best players this week, and not I've got to be really, really good this week with my putter and around the green, or I'm not going to have a chance. So I like the Brennan bet this week for sure.
So he's at 42. The only other guy under 100 I have David Ford at 75-1. Because why would I give up on David Ford now? Can't
stop now, that's for sure.
So I have him. I have my main man, Shooter Sean Yelamaraju. He is at 110-1. Zach Bauschu, 110-1. These are all with 3 places, by the way. Chandler Blanchett, 140-1. Davis Riley, 141. And Jimmy Stanger, 275-1.
I like it. I've got one final question for you, Pat.
Hit me.
I know you said that you already recorded with Jeff. At any point, did he go on a rant about if Shane Lowry was able to answer questions after that meltdown, then surely Colin Morikawa could have last year?
I preemptively masked my question of that question to him.
Nice. I love that.
But in fairness, Shane did it right, so people don't hate him.
Yeah. I thought he did it right, and he answered it honestly. And actually, I think it is probably the right move, not because it's the quote unquote right thing to do for the media and it's going to make people like him a little bit more. I think it's the right thing for him to do because it's going to be easier for him to process this meltdown and now perform well the next time he's actually in that type of scenario, because he was able to talk about it right away and kind of exercise the demons that way.
We didn't even talk about him. Could you see him coming, rebounding and winning here?
Yeah, I mean, I could, but so let me answer it this way. I don't think his chance of winning this week is any worse based on the fact that he melted down last week, but I still think it's a really low chance that he wins, just because I think it's a really low probability that he beats this field at a tough course. He's a very solid player, but we're just not seeing the spikes to beat a field like this. We haven't seen them in years from him.
But that lineup that we built with the Morikawa, Henley, Lowry would be a fixture in that lineup.
Yes, it would. Yeah, he'd be awesome in that lineup.
Yeah. All right. Alex Blickle, join his Discord. You can get the link down in the description, ftnfantasy.com. Hey, I think you're due for a big one this week.
I hope so. I very much hope so. And already this season, it seems like I'm going to have the same DFS PGA years I did in NFL, where showdowns are awesome and main slates are just like, come on, man, give me something that I've gotten in the showdown. So hopefully I break that trend as well. But I'd like to break it by having a great main slate and not by not winning on round 4 showdown, because round 4 showdown has been awesome. I think I've like 5x'd almost every single one of them. So that's been great. And like I said, hopefully we can turn that into some outright winners again, although I already have the Rose win. So I'm not totally empty handed in that regard, but some main slate takedowns would be great.
Maybe we can discuss that next week on the Players Championship DraftKings show, because there's going to be $1 million top prize around. There might even be $1 million or at least a $500K round 4 showdown prize. So maybe a bit more in depth on that would be very helpful for people.
Sounds great. That's a plan.
And maybe Tambo will join us next week too. Who knows?
That'd be also very cool.
It would be. You can check out Tambo over at Chip and Nation, doing shows with Alex as well on ftnfantasy.com. But betsportsgolf.com/Mayo is where you need to go to. You get all the stats, all the tools, the optimizer, the tournament simulations, head-to-head matchups. It's all in there. Highly recommend that you go check it out. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!